Okay,
Okay, it being a little after 9 o'clock, we'll bring the Facilities and Property Management Committee to order. With agenda item number 1, approval of minutes of the January 24th, 2024 Facility and Property Management Committee.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second it.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Moving on to correspondence shared by committee members. Anybody have anything?
The only correspondence I had is I had invited the county executive to come tonight because some of the other supervisors had some questions on that on something, and he is here. I don't know if he has to leave early or whatever. If that needs to be, it's not really correspondence, but if he does have to leave early, I asked that one of the things be moved up.
And the only other, I guess, correspondence, if we have to change the agenda to move number 7 up to, I guess we can move it up to replace it with 4. We have to make a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to do so.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Do we want to go ahead as long as we did that one? I don't know if county executive has to leave right away. Should we move that one up right away also?
The
980 housing projects, I believe that's what one of the questions were. Unless he's going to stay at this meeting. I don't know if it's up to him if he's going to stay, or we can move it up if he's gonna move on. It's
Do you have to move on, John?
I've got myself blocked here till about 10:15.
Okay, so
so let's just, we will move along by then.
Okay,
If not, we'll ask for the reconsideration, I guess.
okay. All right. Any other correspondence?
Just one, we've been having some coordination efforts of getting you guys to tour the Tri-County Ice Arena. They have their next board meeting the evening of the March 13th. And they've said that they would be available to meet with you guys if you want to go up there at that time.
3:13.
Yeah, 3:13. I don't have a time yet, but, if you all wanted to go, it could just be noticed as a possible forum for the committee. And then you could talk to the board of directors. I know, the last time we tried to do it, they all got there, and then we didn't have a forum here and, or minimal people here, and we canceled kind of at the last minute. So, we'll, if you all want to go, let me know and I can tell them, and then we can get a notice out for a meeting.
Okay.
Is there any way that we could meet here and I'll walk in a van?
Potentially, yeah.
Well, that's the way some of the other meetings are, we all together and in a van and. Just a thought, Mr. Chairman, and
Okay. The one more correspondence, Supervisor Wise has to be excused today as well. So. Any other correspondence? Hearing none, moving on to public input on agenda items. We'll start in the room with Supervisor Bender.
Steve Bender, County Board Supervisor, District 13. The highway didn't get that on their agenda. They forgot to put it on there. Bob guaranteed me to be on next month for discussion and action. So I appreciate you having the patience. I keep trying to move it forward there, but it doesn't seem to hit the agenda. So hopefully next month I'll have something and we can try to move it forward.
Thank you. All right, I see Supervisor Hanson and
He has to unmute himself.
oh, you are unmuted.
Thank you, Chairman Buck. I appreciate being recognized. Conley Hanson, District 26. You've got a really great agenda, and I'm anxious to hear everything being discussed. First, on the additional funding request for the $205,000 for the highway office, I have absolutely no objection to any amount because no one should be sitting in the molding conditions. However, I remember Supervisor Bender asking something about this as well. I remember in May of 2022, we went as a board and saw that problem, and I believe we voted on funding to correct it. So I'm anxious to hear what's happened with that and why we need an additional $205,000. And just out of curiosity, on the engineering study or blueprints that were approved by the county when that was built, or an addition made, is the county looking at suing the engineering company or whoever approved that or whoever did that study that created that environment in the first place? We should be looking at possibly suing to recoup what we're now spending. Just curious on that. I like your item number 7 on the appraisal policy. I believe the expertise of everyone sitting on that committee has something of great value to offer. And all appraisals or appraisal contracts should go through your committee. I think that's a great idea. On your building assessment study, looking forward to that. I am wondering if this committee might consider adding a space needs study as well. Mostly though, on the 980 housing project, everything that I've seen as it's coming to its completion doesn't look anything like what I thought we approved. And I'm just curious why such a drastic change from what I remember the plans being, the total number of units being, aside from budgetary, or maybe it is budgetary, why it looks so different. I don't think they look very good, and that's not at all what I thought we approved. So I'm anxious to hear that discussion. Chairman Buck, thank you so very much for allowing me some time. Looking forward to your meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Hanson. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak? Anybody else from the public wishing to speak? Anybody else from the public wishing to speak? Hearing none, we will close that portion of the agenda. And we will move into the discussion and action of the county appraisal policy.
This got moved up, Tom.
Yep. I'm sorry, Tom.
No, that's right.
We moved up. Well, I guess I'm gonna start with Mike here and then we'll.
This is the information I got from Supervisor Swan that we turned into a resolution with,
This is the one. Yeah, I know.
it started out as a resolution, but it's changed to an ordinance. And it reflects what we have worked on to meet the suggestions of Supervisor Swans for an appraisal process.
Hey, can I just add, the reason we went from resolution,
Want to come up?
the reason why I recommended to go from resolution to ordinance was that an ordinance would carry more weight because it's gonna be in the code. And while, as you know, we are in the process of putting this whole general code together in terms of, updating it, it has not been updated yet. So I said we should use the current code numbers. 314 was not used. And I said, why don't we have that section devoted to the appraisal policy? Because when it's in a code, as you know, it carries more weight. With a resolution, it's a statement, okay? But if you basically want to make sure that the county is not paying too much for a property or not getting enough for the sale of a property, then I would think you'd want it to be in the code. So that's why it went to the code. The language that was used was based, my understanding, on conversations with you, Supervisor Swan. And we are here to take, I know you are an appraiser for what, 20 some, a long time.
30 something.
30, so hopefully you can help us use the appropriate designations and go from there.
So what?
I hope I'm not putting you on the spot.
No, it's not. So is this a new ordinance? Basically, it's all new.
Yeah, this is never,
Ordinance.
there's nothing in the code that addresses
Right.
this. There's nothing in the code. that addresses this.
Yeah, I guess I had some corrections that I
Sure.
said. to Melanie. I don't know if you got those in.
Well, so I saw that, and absolutely, if you go to exhibit A, you talked, about, and I'm kind of,
Professional licensure designations,
which is
number
number
4,
4.
should just be
So-
professional designations.
So professionals hired for complex valuation services assignment shall hold professional designations.
Right.
Don't they hold licenses or no? It's not-
Yeah, but, you've already handled the license aspect of it above when you talked about certified general, because if you have a professional designation, you're already gonna be certified generally.
Okay,
Think about that. Well, we're not gonna hire anyone that's not a certified appraiser to do work under appraisal or appraisal practice, right?
whatever, yeah.
So we have,
See, it looked like there were 3 tiers when I was
Yeah,
trying to
and
figure
I
this
can
out.
explain that.
Great.
I mean, you want me to do that first?
Sure.
Whatever you guys think.
Yep.
Let me just, it's easiest, is there a pen over here?
There's a marker right over there.
I'm drawing up, I
Yep.
apologize for not getting here early. Because, I could have done that before the meeting started. But basically you have appraisal. Appraisal review. Then you have appraisal practice. Then valuation services. So you have an envelope here. And, appraisal and appraisal review, very specific, requires, you're providing an opinion of value, you're putting your signature to it. You have a significant amount of training that goes into becoming a certified appraiser, someone who signs for the written work that they do or oral work.
So are you certified by the state or the federal government or what?
Certified by the state,
Okay, okay,
the state of Wisconsin,
okay.
right? Appraisal practice is still under the guise of, closer to appraisal, but not just including appraisal work. So,
Do you still need to be certified to do appraisal practice?
yes, because you're acting as an appraiser,
Okay.
okay? So I'm gonna verify that.
Yeah, I don't, yeah.
Okay, and I apologize, but, yeah, you're still doing appraisal work, you're teaching appraisal courses. You're consulting, you're researching market data. You're doing ad valorem tax work when acting as an appraiser,
So you're signing your name to documents?
yes,
Okay. And if you are certified in Wisconsin, is there reciprocity? So then you're automatically certified in Illinois or,
not automatically necessarily,
okay, depending on the state.
right, it depends on the state. Evaluation services, though, are done by professionals that may not be appraisers. They could be brokers, they could be consultants, they could be, they could be doing property management work. I guess I would give an example of valuation services as our facility study. We had that done by engineers. Engineers would be licensed by the state, but they would not be appraisers necessarily. They did a replacement cost analysis for us,
Okay,
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 essentially, that's what they
Okay.
did. So I'm
okay,
just trying to show
that's great.
an
Yeah.
envelope here that explains some of the terminology in the document to start with.
Thank you.
Sure.
So is that the first bullet under exhibit A, 314.
Right.
The engagement of valuation services as part of Winnebago County real property acquisitions, dispositions, and portfolio asset management actions is required. Is that terminology correct? Because it's more than a,
Yes, because you may have need to hire someone to do valuation services for the county, and it's not necessarily an appraisal.
appraisal. Okay,
Okay,
okay. So one is okay,
right.
all right.
So two, professionals hired for valuation services out of the appraisal practice, outside of appraisal practice. Shall have a minimum active Wisconsin state licensure applicable assignment, which means again, what I was talking about, the engineers, okay? Or someone like that,
So that's okay,
right?
that's two, okay.
Professionals hired for valuation services under the scope of appraisal practice shall hold active Wisconsin state residential or general appraisal certification or appropriate specific appraisal assignment. And again, that's what your question was regarding, whether you need a license to do appraisal practice. Before the end of the meeting, I'll have a definite yes or no.
That's okay, that's okay,
But I don't think I would have written it
that way.
that way if it wasn't true, you know, when I went through the research to do it. I apologize, I overslept a little this
No,
morning, so
no,
I'm still waking up here.
No,
But,
You need coffee?
no, I'm okay.
Okay.
I'll be fine.
Don't have coffee here.
Oh, well, you could get someone to go to a local, okay.
But I did sleep well. That's.
Good.
I'm alert. I'm alert.
No.
I know hopefully I know what I'm doing here.
Okay. So,
Professionals-
yeah, keep going. So 1, 2, and 3 are okay.
I think 3 is okay. I'm just gonna
Mull it
call the
over.
caveat
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that, but you know,
Okay,
that's dependent on whether I wrote it right, not whether you wrote it right. Okay. Professionals hired for complex valuation service assignments shall hold professional
designations.
designations.
Take out the word licensure. Okay,
Right.
Take out the word what?
licensure.
I'm gonna say here, wouldn't you have to be an appraiser and someone who's an appraiser or someone doing appraisal practice to be a professional hire for a complex valuation service?
Well, the way you're explaining.
Yeah, you could do it, you could do it and not be an appraiser too.
Because you're an engineer.
I wrote this, so this has to be right? Because I wrote it.
Make it work, you know, we're here to talk
Yeah.
and improve things. But I mean,
Yeah, because that's why I would have put that way, because, yeah, we could have a complex assignment that might not be done by an appraiser.
right,
Right,
like it might be done by an engineer.
yes, it's still under valuation services envelope. So that's why we left appraiser out of that. Okay. And you could have a professional designation as an engineer. Or someone else. Does that make sense, Mike?
Yeah.
Everybody else?
I agree.
Okay. So the type of evaluation services required and/or discretionary waiver service to be determined solely by the county executive under Wisconsin Stat 59172-A, and I didn't read that statute.
I brought it with me. You
Okay,
don't need
good.
my books.
My question is, where's the money coming from for the appraisals?
It would be from the various departments
Yeah.
that we're requesting to buy property or,
It would have to be in their budget, or they'd have to ask for a budget transfer for it.
Doesn't the board handle money?
You approve it,
We approve money.
see,
Yeah.
so this is pointing to the fact that the board, right, is responsible for policy. No question. That's why we're talking about it.
But we have to approve money every time we do, we're gonna
Absolutely.
appraise.
no, you approve
The
a
budget.
department's budget. And if
And
it's not in their budget and they have to come back and ask for additional funds, you would approve the additional funds.
no question.
Okay.
So again, the county board holds the purse. I'm sorry, am I?
No, he wanted to speak. John?
Yeah, the PNF has that, $300,000 in the, what's it called? Steve, help me out here. Contingency fund. So any costs under $40,000.
Yeah.
So there's a mechanism in place that if that were needed, it would be.
I have other questions on that.
Back to you.
Um,
Oh, well, no, I was just gonna say, so the county board, as you all know, is responsible for policy and you hold the purse strings. So there's, the check and balance.
Right, we can write this policy however we want,
That's absolutely
Yeah.
right.
so,
But as long as it's consistent with the law,
sure.
yeah.
That's what I
Supervisor,
started
yeah.
looking up,
Yep.
for county executive, to make sure that's the law, and I,
Well,
however
I-
it's supposed to be, that's fine. But I think what, you're trying to get at is why I wanna come back to this committee. Am I correct? or-
yes, because I guess the committee has the experience in the background to know when you need to hire an appraisal, and when you don't. Or when you wanna waive it.
But the problem is, and again, I could see that falling into operations, right? So if you go to, like, 5917, you were sitting next to me, Tom. So you can
They
see.
Good or bad?
Well, you wanna see what I found. So under 2, okay, and I can all show you 2 as well. The county executive shall be the chief executive officer of the county. And then if you go down a little bit, it says, the duties and powers of the county executive shall be without limitation, because of enumeration 2, A, coordinate and direct all administrative and management functions of the county government not otherwise vested by law in other elected officers. I'm just gonna show them. Okay?
That's fine, all right.
I think I've read it, but
So under 2, county shall be the chief duties, coordinate and direct all.
mhm.
Okay.
Coordinate and direct all administrative.
And management functions. Right.
Mhm.
County executive shall administer, supervise, and direct any department.
Mhm.
Let me just go to these 2. So we go to 5917, county
Right.
executive, right?
Mhm.
County executive, so the chief executive officer of the county. Then you go down, the county duties and powers shall be without limitation because of enumeration. Okay, all administrative management.
Not elected.
Not otherwise vested by law and other elected officers. You have the policy and the money in your.
In your hands,
Yeah. But the county executive deals with the daily decisions.
Right.
Now, let me show it to Tom too. And I can obviously make copies of this for you. So this is 5917
Right.
county executive. Duties and powers, county exec shall be. And then if you go down, the duties and powers shall be without limitation.
management functions.
Administrative and management functions, administrative and management. And this talks about him administering, supervising, and directing any department or submit department. Or subunit of a department. So anyway, so continue talking.
I have a question then of you right away. If that's the case, what's the duties of this committee?
To approve policy and recommend it to the board, and the board could either say
Set-
yay or nay,
Set policy.
yeah.
Mhm.
The board ultimately would have to approve it, but yeah.
I'm not
So,
arguing that's gotta
Do we
be-
have a specific resolution for every appraisal order?
Not if
No,
it's
you
within,
would.
not if it's in the budget.
So how can a county executive purport to have the experience necessary to know when to order an appraisal, when not to, without a recommendation by the committee?
Right there, they'll answer that for you.
John?
The chairman, that's. My job is to make sure I have a facility director that understands how to do that. I wouldn't be the one doing the appraisal. And if I may, I agree with a lot of this. I think a lot of this is fine. Just making sure that you trust that your facilities director is doing the right thing. And if he's not an appraiser, I would trust that Mike would hire an appraiser that knows what they're talking about, right, Mike?
Mhm.
But I agree with this, but I do have two questions for you if.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. You don't mind if I stand?
No,
will
you're
ya?
fine.
All right, this chair is not great on the back for me. So the two questions that I have, and maybe Mary Ann a little bit for you, is number one, when we acquire somebody's property when they're back on taxes, and then through the treasurer, and then we have to sell that home, sometimes we have to sell it for just what the taxes are due. Tom, is that correct? I think so, yeah. So as long as this doesn't inhibit that says that we have to sell it for X, Y, Z, because I don't know if that part I'm not as aware of. So that's number one to consider. Mary
Can I
Ann?
talk to
Yeah.
you?
Please.
So there was a United States Supreme Court decision that came down called Tyler versus Hennepin. Prior to that decision, let's say, there were back taxes, okay? And the county said, we are taking property. And then the county, sold the property. Let's say they were owed $50,000, but they sold the property for $100,000.
Right.
Okay, the county would take the 50, and then basically they could eventually take the other 50, okay? The Supreme Court in Tyler versus Hennepin said, that's an unlawful taking. You can't do that. You need to make an effort to try to locate the owner,
Or the
and
family?
or the family
Mm.
and go from there. Now, there is legislation right now, I believe, down in Madison, they're trying to address that. I don't know
Yeah.
where that's going.
My question is, would
Yeah.
this limit
If
that?
I could
Well,
Sure,
just make
please.
a comment before we get to that. Wouldn't you, you know, wouldn't you have to have an appraisal done under chapter 32 eminent domain to deter just compensation prior to the sale of tax deed property?
I believe that that's what the treasurer does. But the question becomes,
They order
How
an
much-
appraisal,
I believe for the most part they do.
so
do
shouldn't they be
appraisals.
under the guise of this?
She's a separate elected official, so I don't know the role.
And then the other issue is, how much does an appraisal cost? I mean, if you are
Oh,
looking
yeah.
at like a 10,000, if you owe,
Mhm.
let's say someone owes, I don't know, 10,000 or $5,000, are you gonna spend $1,000 for an appraisal? If you were only owed five, I mean,
Mhm.
I think you have to think of that piece as well. And maybe what we need to do is speak to the treasurer, quite frankly.
Maybe you're forced to do it, but for non-complex properties,
What's non-complex?
well, that's just it. That's why the expertise of this committee would be so crucial, you know, in helping to guide a determination on whether or not you need an appraisal or not.
Mike, did you have something?
I do, I have some. So my way of thinking too is, like if you don't get an appraisal,
Mhm.
okay, how do you know what the real value of that house is? Because of the fact that maybe they destroyed it before they left.
Mhm.
And maybe it's been improved since they left. So either or, but
How much do appraisals, I don't know.
I
how
don't
much
know.
appraisals
I
cost.
can address that.
I don't-
If I may, all I want to know is does this affect that portion of what we do? Because technically we do own those properties until it's sold and turned over, right? Correct?
Mhm.
So
Right now, without specific language in here, I'd say the envelope, it's in the envelope, it would, yeah.
it would, all right. So then that's something that I want to question the
I
treasurer.
don't really know, I don't think we're getting out of here today with a vote and a signature.
Sure.
okay?
Yep.
Just based on, and I kind of wanted to try to do that because this board has the background, understand why this is even being brought forward better than the next one will, but I think we can explain. I think, this has some value and then, it's pretty hard to say no, or let's not get appraisals. If we're gonna spend thousands of dollars to save tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in a purchase or a disposition,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
It's pretty easy to
Well, I'm
Get your
not,
arm-
you guys decide.
Well,
I'm
I'm just
not-
saying, as a board, I think it'd be easy to explain that and get your arms around that. We're trying to save the taxpayers money here, maximize their return on investment.
100% agree.
So, but that being said, we didn't, we were real busy. Your office is very busy. We just didn't get to this in time. I dragged my feet a little when I wrote it, was gonna write it last year, didn't get it for a couple months and, so.
But I should also add, we have a provision 6, which says tax deeded sales will be exempt from the Winnebago County appraisal policy.
It's Supervisor Egan.
That's exactly what I was
Okay.
gonna bring it up. So right there.
Where's that? I'm
Number
sorry.
6.
Number 6.
Yeah, it's in here.
So how much do appraisals typically, I mean,
I just tell you, for a residential appraisal, it's, $100 to $500. Let's just say that. 500 is high, it's very competitive, so I'm gonna say it's on the lower end of that, generally. If a bank even gets one now, they get evaluations, they have brokers doing it.
That's just residential, that's a house.
Yeah, it's residential.
That's it.
Commercial could be in the thousands. Let's just say 1 to 5, generally it could be more, up to 10. And if it's a portfolio property, it's gonna be more, let's say we have a whole bunch of properties,
So tax deeded sales are basically residential property.
yeah.
How many houses are going, or is the county buying or going back on the rules a year? Is that a large number? Is that a small number? Is that?
We've only bought 2 in the time that I've been here.
Okay, so that's not really even an issue.
But if it's a report under chapter, if it's a requirement under chapter 32 eminent domain, it's
Sure.
more complex.
Have to do it anyway.
Could be higher because of that. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Supervisor Bender, I will allow you to, as long as you keep it to this. then-
Get like this, personal finance actually gets all the properties and they present them to us. And then basically, we okay them to go up for sale at those prices. And then when they get a price, they come back to us and we approve them to go to the county board. So they do come to the personnel and finance committee before they go out to be sold. And if they don't get an offer, then they come back to us and they say we have to lower the price. And they had like a business in Neenah on Third Street. And one guy wanted to buy it for $25,000 because he said the roof leak. And I think we ended up getting close to $100,000, but they had to go out for bid twice. It's the first time nobody even bid on it. So there is a checks and balance before it comes to the county board. We do basically, before they put them up for sale, we approve the prices that they're asking. And we can say we think it's too cheap. I went and looked at some of them, and usually if they're cheap, you go in them, they're destroyed. And if they're nice, then they're asking a fair price for them. So I think it really is kind of a check and balance already.
Mary Ann?
So, based on your recollection, when the treasurer came to P&M, do they typically come with an appraisal?
They come with a sheet with listing the houses and the prices they're asking for,
They don't have an appraisal.
Not an appraisal. It's, somebody gave them prices, it had to be a realtor, they got a number from somebody. And I looked at a couple, because it seemed like they're really cheap, there was one on Lark Street, and when I went in there, the house was just destroyed on the inside, So it's like, I thought, well, that's way too cheap, well, when I actually went and looked at it, it was more than I would be willing to pay for it.
The treasurer would know off the top of their practices, and maybe we need to include.
John?
So does it come under valuation? Sorry, if you recognize it.
I did.
Go ahead.
I seem to recall Mary Krieger, old treasurer, and talking about appraisals. And again, I don't know if they haven't done, but they
I
might.
think they do, they hire them, they have
Right.
appraisers when they need them, they think they need them.
Yep, so I think Amber Hoppa is our new treasurer. I think that would be a good question to ask. Yep.
Now,
And
is
she's
this,
worked under Mary for many
Yeah.
years,
Yep.
so.
but the question, this might fall under valuation services, a broker could do a price opinion or an evaluation, well, evaluation is really appraisal practice, but
That's cheaper though, right? Evaluation services?
it would be, yeah, but the thing is, if you have to do it under chapter 32 eminent domain, you need the expertise of an appraiser to do that.
How often does that
Specialized
come up? See,
appraiser.
that's the.
Well, if it's gonna come up every time, if you have just compensation
Mhm.
involved here, maybe. This is new territory, right?
Yeah.
That's why we're not gonna get out of here with a vote to take some of this stuff. We
You
gotta
wanna
take-
do it right. You don't wanna
Yeah.
rush this. You wanna.
Right.
Many times.
I understand.
Yep. Well, yep,
So that was my first point. I just want to make sure that we're considering that portion of what we do. And the second one, the ice arena. So we did a 15-year lease with them
Right.
at the idea to give it to them for $1 at the end of 15, I believe is what it is.
Sure.
Would this ordinance supersede that? Would we still be able to honor that agreement? Or would we have to appraise that property?
I would say it's grandfathered because the agreement was already
Okay.
done.
That's my only concern. But I do want to commend you a little bit. I agree with the policy discussion. I think that we should be having things appraised. We should be getting fair market value for it.
Right.
Government has a track record of giving stuff away for $1. And I don't
Yeah, I
think that's
mean,
not.
I think we can, I'll give Harrison Street as an example. I was the one that spoke up and said, hey, we're paying too much for this.
Mhm.
And we accepted the seller's appraisal without an appraisal review,
Mhm.
which we could have had on the seller's appraisal.
Mhm.
So we could have done two things. We could have gotten our own appraisal report, or we could have had an appraisal review done to verify that the value that they came up with is realistic. And that, the county can accept that more easily than to have me go into a meeting and, fly by the seat of the pants and say, hey, we're paying too much, and everyone else thought it was great, so.
So in short, just those
Yeah.
two things but I appreciate the efforts.
Well, and on this,
Yep.
executive having the authority, if I can go back to that. You have veto power already, right?
Resolute on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
ordinance.
So I don't understand why you wouldn't want us to chime in at a committee level on, at least give a recommendation. And then, I guess you're not gonna have to go through the board every time to approve an appraisal. Because you're saying you're gonna draw that from the budget.
Mhm.
But wouldn't it, it'd be to your benefit to tap into the knowledge base on this committee.
Well, there's one thing I can,
We're not always gonna be here.
you're not always gonna be
We're
here.
not always gonna be here.
But that's why if there's policies in place, that there's a check and balance of a policy that we don't have an issue if,
Yeah,
as Harrison Street, that it's saying, no, we have to have an appraisal on the county end of things. We're not just gonna take their word for it. Moving
Right.
forward, we're gonna have that, and it's gonna go through the committee and then go to the county executive. That's it.
yeah,
I guess that's how I see it.
my question is, would you at least want discussion on whether or not you're gonna order an appraisal at this level, and you're mostly, you're gonna try to get people on this committee that have some background.
Well, so
Property.
if you're concerned about that, you can still keep 5, which is, evaluation of services required and or discretionary shall be administered solely by the county executive, but you could also put another bullet point saying the facilities committee can make a recommendation.
There is
He
what I'm
does
looking,
not have to
Okay, there you
accept
go.
it.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
looking for.
There you go.
Okay, we get another line item in here that mentions a recommendation
From the facilities.
requirement from facilities.
But I want to be clear, which is fine. He or whoever is the
I'm
county
not,
exec.
I'm not trying to dispute that,
Okay. So
other
you-
than just this general discussion. I called Chuck Farley last night, and he had some ideas about this, and I took notes on it,
So,
he-
go ahead, let's hear
Well,
what you're.
he just mentioned the veto power that you have already, that, he mentioned the funding issue, but that we've had this discussion on. Okay, so,
But if you would feel more comfortable
yeah,
putting in a line, not taking out the fact that it's
No.
not ultimate, but.
but that we're gonna make a
So do
recommendation.
you want to put the facilities and property, so after, between 4 and 5,
Yeah.
so make it the new 5, facilities and property management committee. Shall make recommendation, I just shall make recommendations regarding.
I'd like the word must in there.
Must make recommendations.
Must
Well,
doesn't
must
hold up
get
in
one.
legal
Well-
court. Shall's the one that does, right?
Well, shall, but we've had another thing, and no offense, but we've had some other things that we've had to ask done up on, and it got to the executive's office, and we've never seen anything from it. So if there's any way, because it's like you said, he's still gonna be he or she, whoever it is still gonna be the one in charge there. So if we put that in, we can get there and say, well, I didn't want that. We'll just keep on going.
So do you want to say must?
I'm just asking, is that correct or not, or
What holds more legal weight? The shall,
Shall.
yeah.
Okay, but what if he says, no, we're not
Because
gonna
it's
do
not
that?
may, it's shall.
But what,
Shall is a must.
what's it gonna be? if
Yeah,
he-
that's true, shall is a
Gonna be if
must.
He or she says, well, no, we're not gonna do that, we'll
Well-
just skip on by then.
Well, no, because you're gonna say shall, so the committee would just,
Yeah.
would make a recommendation. But again, he can either accept it or reject it, or cheat, or whoever it is.
Right.
Shall means you have to do it, so we'd have to make a recommendation.
So the Facilities and Property, Management Committee shall make recommendations regarding all appraisals, or make a recommendation.
Regarding the need for an appraisal, the need for evaluation services, right?
Yeah,
Or lack thereof by waiver.
that's fine. So shall make recommendations regarding the need for evaluation services or lack thereof.
Lack thereof by waiver. Because we actually have written waiver into this.
Oh, sure.
I just wanna, just
What did
suggest
you say by,
By waiver.
by waiver?
lack thereof by waiver. Or through waiver. Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying that way. We at least get to chime in and say, this is what we think, we make a decision, but this is what we think, and we're using a knowledge base here, and hopefully, anyone sitting on this property management committee is gonna have at least some knowledge of appraisal or background, not necessarily appraisers, but they're gonna have some background in property. They're gonna have some knowledge there.
But again, as Mike said, I mean, you've got.
And the director.
All right, John?
In reality, what I would do is I would listen to the recommendation of my facilities director. And that's.
Yeah, but he's listening to us.
Correct. I mean, that's, I direct Mike, he comes up with his opinion, he gives it to me and I.
Yeah, we're not setting policy, but he's,
Correct.
we can speak here,
Absolutely. And I would hope that you all have a relationship with, Mike Elder.
we do.
Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
Mike, loud and clear on the appraisals,
What's that?
loud and clear on the appraisals,
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
right,
And we need to have this policy so that it goes across all the departments.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
it's not just like,
That's the
Yeah.
key.
you know,
That's it.
I don't know who buys the properties in the right of ways for highways, let's say, I don't know.
Well, I asked that question,
Mhm.
Bob Damwell at the meeting, and he said, I said that, are we acquiring are we taking any access, on this? This is up on that road up in, north, you remember that?
Mhm.
So he said the engineers handle that.
Well, who are the engineers?
Remember that? Well, the engineer,
The state
and
engineers?
all the engineer that's involved in drawing the highway,
We do not have an engineer or a planner in our highway department, so we
Yeah.
outsource that, we contract that.
Or is that the DOT that does that?
That's what I
It depends on what property it
and
is.
he said they hire
Yeah, right.
that company out of Tomahawk, I'm trying to think of the name of it. Linda?
No, they're out of Black River Falls.
No, they're out of Tomahawk.
Lunda's out of Black River Falls. Engineer.
I guess,
They do appraisal and they probably handle all the property acquisitions. So the small parcel acquisitions that are required in the taking, right?
Yeah. I might have been involved with him on something like that, and there was, I don't know if it was, I don't know, there was a woman I was talking to.
Anyway, a lot of these acquisitions are small in scope, they're small parcel,
Okay.
not always challenged by the property owner.
Mhm.
So unless there is one that is, then it becomes chapter 32,
John?
yeah, in short, I think Mike hit the point, right on the head, is we need to make sure that, and I agree with this appraisal policy, I absolutely do, I support this, so we need to make sure it's countywide and considering all the different things where we actually acquire or sell property. Whether it's the treasurer, whether it's highway was a good point. That's an interesting thing. And I agree with that. I think Mike's, one of his frustrations I got here is that he's facilities director, but he doesn't actually touch all the facilities. So let's correct that. I think anything facility related should be coming through this committee. And I agree with this, the concept that you're trying to do here. I think it's on the right path. Make sure that we look beyond the target and make sure that we consider everything that we do on acquisitions or selling of land and property, not necessarily just buildings. And I just encourage that we ask all those questions and try to think of any other areas in government where we might not be touching here, or that, or maybe we don't want to, like in the treasurer's.
Yeah, for sure. That one that, and I read that last night, not fairly recently and said, wait, wow, that's right. We did sit at our Supreme Court decision on that. And that's one where you get an appraisal that can help the process. You can make sure as a county, you've done your due diligence and you're not taking a property without the compensation of that property. In an equity, would have maybe an equity position, yes.
So we should probably switch it up, but yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, I think you pretty well smoothly moved this from a resolution to an ordinance. A lot of the issues that you pulled out of the resolution wound up in the exhibit, so, yeah, I think it, overall it's fine here. I don't maybe think we want to take a vote today. We want to just sit with it for another month.
But are you meeting in another month?
Are we? We're meeting.
Well, we're gonna
meeting
meet,
this.
yeah, we're gonna meet, fourth.
Yeah, there'll be
Wednesday.
another one.
Yep, there'll be another one, but this, it'll be a new county board voting on this policy.
Yeah,
Then you won't be meeting this month.
We will,
March, well, then why won't be a new?
because
We have March yet.
March and then.
Yeah, but March-
Then the election
Right.
is April and then,
April 2nd, and then-
Right, I see what you mean, the
Yeah.
county board. wise.
yes,
Right.
that's what I'm saying.
unless everyone wants to vote on it today, what do you recommend? Corporate council? I mean, what do you
Like, put
recommend?
you on the spot, huh?
I mean, what you can, it sounds like you're.
I mean, as long as you have this blurb in here
The facilities and
on committee having some, ability to make a recommendation.
mhm. Yeah.
I'd
which we can-
say I'd be good with this, but is this getting on the
Agenda.
March agenda
Yeah,
anyway?
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because you have to do
absolutely.
it the second,
Yep.
Was all the information available to the public on open record? I mean, was this available online where they could see it?
Well, no, we have
Well-
another meeting coming up in March. It won't make it this coming week, so we have another
March.
meeting.
well,
Third
this
Tuesday.
was done,
Yeah.
and, what is in the packet is essentially this, well, it's a resolution, it's not an ordinance, and actually it didn't have this, it was not this format, it was a different, is that correct? Format.
Alright.
So, no, I mean, was this specific exhibit A posted? No, but there was something that Mike put together,
Sure.
which,
I mean, you did this quickly and you did great on it, I think.
Yeah,
Put it together, we did the work, we could vote on it, we can always change it at the board level.
that's right, I mean, the concern, and I think the county exec,
well,
we
that-
gotta check number 6, but
that-
that doesn't mean you can't change something on the floor
Yeah,
once we do the due diligence and speak to the treasurer.
right. What do you think? I mean, you wanna vote on it? Tom?
What do you think?
I think it's, yeah, I think so. I think as long as, I mean, I think you explained why, you don't need a board action to sort of create funding for every appraisal we ordered. You explained that. You explained through chapter 57 how, you believe the executive
59,
59, the executive needs ultimate authority on this. You allowed us the ability to have a
Right.
chime in on it as a committee. And, You know, those are the only other things I really
And
had,
then you added in the five, a new five.
a new
A new
five.
five, the
Yeah.
facility, and let me just,
So it's 6 and
the
7, 5.
facilities and property
6.
management community shall make recommendations regarding the need for valuation services or lack thereof by waiver. That's what that would be the new five,
Mhm.
and then you're gonna have the current 5 to 6, and then the current 6 to 7, though we have to check with Amber
Yes,
regarding.
and if we need to make a change at the board level.
You can do it on the
Regards,
floor.
we'll do that, okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Do you wanna go through the actual, so this is what's
Yeah,
gonna be in
we
the
can,
code.
we can have
You
more
wanna go
discussion
through
on some of
this
that.
real quick, the ordinance, or no?
Yeah,
That's just fluff, but not fluff, but.
yeah,
So, okay, Winnebago County has a periodic need to acquire real property as well as dispose of and or manage its existing portfolio of real property. Whereas real property acquisitions, dispositions, and portfolio management requests are initiated by Winnebago County departments in accordance with needs. Whereas in real property buying, selling, and portfolio asset management, market valuations or other valuation services can maximize investment return on and of Winnebago County taxpayer funds. And I might add, this is all thanks to Mike Elder, I will tell you that. Well, and maybe with him working with you, but
what do you mean?
the language.
I wrote it.
Oh, then you did a very good job. You did a very good job. And whereas Winnebago County may have the occasional need for appraisals complying with uniform standards of professional appraisal practices promulgated by the Appraisal Standards Board of the Appraisal Foundation, here after use back. Now therefore, so again, this is where the real legal language is, now therefore, all the whereas is blah, 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 you know, it's like the
Yep.
history. Go
Um,
ahead.
just to say, the word valuation services doesn't make it into this initial discussion, but it's in here later, yeah,
That's gonna be in the code.
all right.
This is the code.
This isn't the quote, this is just, okay, go ahead.
So then the law, now therefore, Winnebago County Board of Supervisors does ordain as follows, that section 314.
Yep.
Of the Winnebago County General Code is established that requires the engagement of evaluation services as part of Winnebago County real property acquisitions, dispositions, and portfolio asset management actions. The type of valuation services required and or discretionary waiver, evaluation services shall be administered solely by the county executive. Do you want me to put in before that type of valuation services, the Facilities and Property Management Committee shall make a recommendation regarding the need for valuation services or lack thereof by waiver?
Yeah,
And that, okay, I'll put it in there.
in for where? 5, right? Oh, in
You
here,
want me to put it in here,
oh,
between actions and the type of valuation services required. So the county board realizes if they don't read Exhibit A, if they just read the ordinance.
yes, that'd be good.
I think so.
We should put that in there. Okay.
Don't you, Tom?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And, I will be available, you know, I can fully explain the, and I'm hoping that we can purchase USPAP from the Appraisal Foundation as a county, the online version for $35, so that
We
if,
should get him.
if anything comes up, questions come up on definitions,
Yeah,
you know,
but if we're,
I can speak to that because, or you could speak to that, because right now, I don't have USPAP 2024, okay?
but if we're
So-
gonna hire an appraiser, do we need to get the book? I mean, I'm not trying, okay,
Why do we need to get the book? Well, if any questions come up on the definitions, what we're talking about, the language in here, we can explain that and have a reference to a page number in use.
I wouldn't know where to look in that book,
Well, I would.
Well,
but you're not gonna be
Yeah.
here, maybe.
No, but you would because.
I would be hiring an appraiser who knows what they're doing. So, you know, I think this would just be a book that sits on the shelf and we never
No, it's
touch.
an online version. It's just online. And
Not
you
where I
gotta
would,
use-
on the website,
No,
it's a book.
you can download it
I don't
on
see an option to
PDF.
download.
well, we can discuss
Appraisal
this at a
fund.
later date. We can discuss this at a later
I'm
date.
just saying
Yep,
that
let's-
you would always have what you
Yeah.
need to make a reference. And you maybe only need to buy it in 2024, just so that you have the information available at your fingertips. If anyone asks a question of Well, what's valuation service? What's
What do you
appraisal
mean?
practice? What's an appraisal? You know? You define what an appraisal is.
Well,
You have it. You have it right up there in front of the room. You have me
With
in
another
there.
book.
You have me in there too. No, it's not a book.
No, I know.
But you have me in there for at least to get this passed.
Well, that's
then
what
once
we're
you-
voting on right now.
Yeah, well, if you want an explanation, I got some stuff here, but.
well, what do you wanna do? Do you wanna?
Do
make
you
a
want
motion
to
to-
vote
Yeah, I
on
think
this?
we should,
Okay,
just to move it along.
yeah,
A
well,
lot of work was done here, not, that's why you.
Well, you did a lot.
The motion?
yep. Is there a
I will
mo-
second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded on establishing, an appraisal policy and acquisition, disposition, and asset management of Winnebago County owned real property. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
That's on the
Thank you.
agenda. Good job.
Very good
All
job.
right,
Tom.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, so that being said, we will move on to, we cleared 7, we're gonna do discussion and approval of an additional funding request of $205,000 for the highway office reconfiguration and mold remediation project.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I had asked earlier if,
You wanna move that up?
the county executive had to leave, and he said at 10:15
Okay.
on this 9 housing
Yeah.
project, if I go ahead and
Yep.
make the motion that we moved it.
I'll second that motion.
Made and seconded, move the 980 housing project up. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right, discussion of 980 housing project.
We are in the final stages of getting it all completed. I've walked through them all right now and they're being nicely warm with a little milk house heater. So it's, actually it was quite warm in there. And that was during the time we had the cold snap this last week. So they're just about done. We'll be doing the landscaping when the weather permits, so that we don't waste anything. I know Supervisor Hanson brought up some questions. When I presented it to the county board, it was presented as multiple different concepts. While we went through the whole approval process of getting the 980s done, the city weighed in an awful lot on what they would allow us to do up there. So we had originally wanted to do, I think, 11 buildings. The city backed it down to 8. And then, funding only allowed us to do 3. So that's where we got down to the 3. But some of the things that we ran into with, the configuration of the buildings is the state would not allow us to put 980s, more than 2 980s under one roof. So we had one concept where we were gonna have 6 or 8 like townhouses. They wouldn't allow that because it was one roof. Not, one unit, it was one roof. So that's where we got down to the tiny home concept. So, and they're basically very similar to the townhouse that I had when I was living, in a townhouse. So I don't know if you have some more specific questions about them.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I have some, just to clarify some things. I know one of the things that was said that it was gonna be brought back to this committee before anything was built or whatever, and maybe I missed that meeting or something. I don't think this committee got to see what was being built out there until it was being built.
I don't recall, that's a year or so in the back. I don't recall what exactly I showed. I may have showed you some drawings. But I don't
remember,
recall.
That's why I
I-
asked.
You showed us drawings, I remember that.
Yeah, I do too.
What I remember you saying, we as a committee reserve the right to review the final plans. To me, final plans includes any change orders too, that are considered during the construction process. And when we approved this, my impression is we were gonna have a perimeter foundation under each of these units, with at least a crawl space. What we wound up with was concrete posts at the corners and along the edge of the building, and a perimeter foundation only under an area that is utilized for basement and utilities placement. So, I mean, to me, the way this has been built, it doesn't show very well from the road because of the fact that it's sitting on concrete posts. It almost looks like FEMA trailers to me. Plus, we put them too close together. Now, I know when I saw the site plan, they were pretty close together, but I mean, I think we could have gone at least 6 feet. And that way you would have been able to put a few windows in the side of these things to allow more natural light, into the units. And you could say, well, these people that are occupying these units are human beings. We all need to, we all need to be comfortable. And, I just think that they're sort of like, you got two windows at the ends, they're like, sort of like tombs in there. Not enough natural light, and, there's no overhangs on the buildings. There's no soffits and fascia. It just sort of gives a look that we were trying to avoid. I know that the city talked about how they didn't want this to be configured like a trailer park. And it sure looks like, we kind of dropped the ball on the design here. Was there a need for, I'm gonna ask this question, was there a need for what did we approve? I think $1.080 million. Did we approve $1.080 million, or was it
Something like
more
that.
than that? It was $1.4 million initially.
No, I think it's just over $1 million.
Okay, was there a need for a budgetary change on this at all?
If I remember correctly.
If you would have put, if you would have put perimeter crawl space in, would that be more expensive
Yep.
than how much more?
I don't know, but we also built these so that in the future, if we needed to, we can pick these up and move.
Move them. That was, I made quite the, I don't want to say stink on that, but it was that if the state changes its policy, now what? Then
Okay.
what? Because we keep using the Huber building, things change, bang, that gets torn down. So then if we built these, then at some point they can be
We
moved
can
to
pick these
do
up and move.
veterans housing or do whatever. we
But
need.
realistically, are we, with all the infrastructure investment you made there with the plumbing and the holding tanks and, the utility building out there? Realistically, are we ever gonna move them? I mean, if we didn't use them for 980 housing, we'd use them for something else, right? So my question is, well, I don't think it would have been that more expensive. You had the trucks out there to pour perimeter foundations, and then you have a solid look. that
It
the
probably
public
would
can
have
get
added
their arms around.
$10,000 to a house.
You could get your arms around that, though. The public at least has a feeling that for, $1 million investment in these units, that they're getting their money's worth. Because right now, they look like,
And
They
there'll
look
be a
like
trailer,
townhouses
Yeah.
that I lived in, split apart.
and there'll be a
And
fence around there, correct?
There'll be landscaping around it, yeah.
Well, there's not gonna be a fence.
I don't think we have money for the fence.
Cause going here, is it, like you said, we're allowed to build up to 8.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was saying, well, why are they so close together? Is that the reason being?
Yes,
So that's the reason being, Tom, is
Okay, but-
because,
okay.
like I say, if you can't put 8 of them here, as if you don't have the space to do it.
Well, let me ask this. We have the trailer in there, and there's a whole bunch of space between these 3 units and that trailer.
and in the future, that trailer won't be there and there will be 8 more units there.
And the only way we could do this is to put them 3 feet apart
Yes,
to get all 8 of the
Yes.
units in there.
because that parcel is within the parameters, the actual parking spot is closer than 1,500 feet to the next parcel of property.
Okay,
So if somebody builds a subdivision south of the jail, we will still be 1,500 feet away. If we go any further to the west of where the parcel is, we are less than
South.
1,500 feet from the apartments on the other side of Jackson Street.
okay,
We can't go any farther north because we got Y there,
yeah,
and we can't go any farther west because we start running into perimeter problems there too.
south, you mean, right?
We can't go south, we can't go east, we can't go west. When we looked at the parcel,
Okay.
this is, we got the most property that we can to build the 980s right there. And if you look at all the boundaries that we have to live by, there, unless we go and build and buy something on 400 acres out in Vinland, and then subdivide that,
Yeah.
so that it's a parcel inside a parcel,
Okay,
this is where we've got, and this is what we've got to put 11 potential homes.
I get that, but do we, excuse me, that back is, are we gonna run into any issues with, you know, are these things more at risk of being damaged in storms, in heavy storms, because they're sitting on posts rather than?
No.
Rather than a perimeter foundation?
No,
Okay, what about vermin getting up underneath and through the tie, I think it's only Tyvek underneath there, right? So we could have, we
There's
could
you.
have,
hey, I get mice in my house.
yeah, I know, but, I'm just saying. We could have avoided that with a perimeter foundation.
Not necessarily.
Tom?
How much more would a fence be around there? To dress it up?
Probably about $40,000-$50,000.
I see a fund executive's got his hand up, but I just wonder if that would add something to it. I mean, I've gotten not as many calls in library books that we're gonna have, but anyways, I've gotten a lot of calls on this, and that's one of the reasons, and, I know that Tom has interest in it too, and we've got some other county board supervisors that are questioning, well, if we could cover some of that up for that amount, I'm just wondering if that would be
Mhm.
the way to go.
John?
There's enough left over in that budget to do a fence.
I can probably do it, yeah.
There's plenty, and just, we put the infrastructure that if we ever need to go ahead and do more units, it's already there. The septic and everything else is already there.
Right.
The infrastructure was a big part of the cost.
Right.
I was not willing to spend a penny more on this. I wasn't comfortable doing it. It was something we had to do, not something I wanted to do, and Mike was very clear with that. The board made a policy decision that, yes, we're gonna build housing for these, and you gave me the budgetary amount to get that project done.
Right.
When the quote came in, it was way over, and I was gonna have to ask for more money. I wasn't comfortable doing that. So the direction of Mike was figure out a way to handle the 980s we have coming out, and make it happen. So they looked at it and they thought 5 units, so 2 in the trailer and the 3 extra houses would be enough to cover what we needed. I was not comfortable coming for another $100,000 or $250,000 for this project. I mean, that's just.
Yeah, but that's not what we would, excuse me, what we would have needed to put perimeter foundations in, 10,000 units, what you said, right?
Mhm.
Well, sure, but again, and I'm not trying, all right, let me make sure that I say this in a way that's.
We approved the money, we approved the project, and then it went to the county executive,
Thank you.
and then at that point, then he made decisions out,
Right.
I get what you're saying, is they
That's why
say, hey,
there was
Yep.
only-
what were the plans that were approved,
Yeah,
I get that, I remember seeing plans and it was supposed to be for 6, and then I also remember them coming back and saying, we don't have the money for 6. If we approved the X amount of dollars, and then at that point, it was what it was.
yeah, I'm just.
Yeah.
Just trying to make a point.
Yeah.
You can look at the history of what we thought we were approving.
Yep.
And what actually wound up being
Done.
constructed
Yeah.
out there.
So,
Mike?
John just said that he kind of approves, to build that fence.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
What kind of fence would it be though?
There'll be a privacy type fence.
Not one of them high vinyl fences, 6 feet high or something. Well, I mean,
They'll probably be 6 feet high, it'll be whatever I can get
For
for the
that
least
price.
amount of money.
Yep.
Prefer it to be alternate, I like alternate boards.
Anything will look better than what I think's there right now.
Mhm. Yeah, Mike, you got direction on that?
Okay.
See what we can get.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Okay, anybody else on the 980 housing? All right, now we're moving back to the discussion and approval of additional funding request for 205,000 for the highway office reconfiguration and mold remediation project.
Yeah, I know Supervisor Hanson asked some questions about suing
Yep.
the original people. The original designers were Reed and Hunt. I found that out. I I think they're still in business.
Yes, they
I
are.
don't, you know, I don't know what they are, but
They're in Madison,
but in
Middleton.
in practice, what I found out is that there's a 10-year window for you to go back and sue for errors and omissions for construction work and design work. And the highway shop was built 1996 or something like that. So we've gotten probably 30 years or 20 years worth of use of the building before a mold became an issue.
Yep.
So the chances of going back and suing anybody for it is slim and none.
You have about 7 years, I think, by state statute right now, and you're, you know, the designer, it's probably 90% of problems on construction projects occur because of poor craftsmanship.
Mhm.
90% of them, and so, and 90% of water infiltration comes in from transitions from a roof line to flashing to windows. That's where most of the water infiltration comes in, and so you know, yeah, what Supervisor Hanson, we're way past the statute of limitations on this, but again, I'm gonna continue to make the point for hiring responsible contractors and having a policy that reflects that, because we're gonna keep talking about this. Parkview, the daycare facility, and I'll get to it when we talk about it, but recodification, this, that, the other thing, that's not getting it done. So we're gonna have to make moves at this committee level to, you know, to make a decision, because we haven't got a decision for, I think it's maybe been a year right now. So, but this is the same thing that we continue to see time and time again, so.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
How much is the total cost of this remediation effort?
It's all wrapped into the cost of the bid.
Oh, okay.
So the total cost of the bid, low bidder is $954,000. And this project started out as the mold remediation. We were gonna take care of that. And then it morphed into, well, the interior of the building really doesn't suit the needs of the department operations. And it went into a space study and remodeling of the entire administration office. So basically, the entire inside of the building is gonna be gutted. You know, the mold will be remediated, and then we're gonna go back with all new office stuff. So the project basically was another half as much as what we had originally anticipated. Part of the cost overture is when we started doing this, we had planned on phasing it so that we could keep the people in the building. And once we got into it, it's like, no, that's not gonna work. So we've had to go out and rent trailers to put them in for 6 months so that we can have unfettered access to the inside of the building to get them done. So that's about $80,000 of it.
Huh?
You got 980 housing sitting right there that nobody's using.
Yeah,
Anyways, that isn't what I originally wanted to say. Can't make a motion on the way that it is. That $205,000 that they've got. I'm just wondering if this isn't something that could be taken to the Spirit Fund or ARPA Fund, whatever you wanna call it. And ask to have that taken out of the interest money.
Well, I guess we could.
We've got about $2 million sitting in that interest fund,
Mhm,
which is not designated for anything.
mhm.
That'd be a great idea.
Yeah,
Do we have to make a motion for
Well-
it or not?
It would have to go before that, I'm not sure.
well, we
It's
could.
a recommendation that I,
Well,
because it's not on the ARPA funds.
part of the resolution talks about how it's going to be funded. We can probably add something onto the resolution saying, you know, because either it's like a future
Well-
bonding or general undesignated funds. Or we could add on reimbursement from the ARPA funds, I think, or the Spirit Fund.
well, I mean, I agree with that 100%, but we start doing that, this committee's gonna do that, this committee's gonna do that, that committee's gonna do that, but it'll be up to the ARPA commission to decide that or not,
Right,
correct?
correct.
Okay,
But that is sitting there.
Yep.
Yes, we're getting interest on it. How should I say it? Your boss, thought that that should be divided amongst other ones, and I said, no, we are not gonna put that on the agenda this time, so otherwise it's gonna go into some other pile and nothing's gonna get out of it, and I think this way here,
Yep. we
because
start
everybody
thinking-
uses.
Yep, I agree. Mike?
So when is this project gonna be started, or has it already?
We've got the bids, but I can't award the bids because we're $205,000 short.
Ah, okay.
Okay, yeah.
So
'cause we
if-
are
if it
sitting
takes a
on
lot of
something
time-
That's very important, and
Yeah,
because we are spending money right now to rent these trailers.
no, we haven't
Oh,
gotten
we
the
haven't
trailer-
done
we
that
haven't gotten the go-ahead to do that. I haven't given it to them, but what we've got is we've got, the contractor will hold his prices for 120
Hey,
days.
who's the contractor?
RJM,
The same company that did the tiny houses.
yeah,
And,
but we have had a long discussion with them.
uh-huh,
And we're pretty confident that we're not gonna have the same issues with this building as we did with the 980, so.
and you had some issues with RJM at the 980.
Just that it's taken so long.
Okay.
Workmanship is fine. They
Um,
did the trailer and they did a great job in getting the trailer and everything in there.
Yeah. Is it too late to, I mean, not too late, but we're spending, what, $1 million? How much? $1 million?
Yeah, 954,000.
Well, $1 million we're gonna spend on this mold remediation and then there was talk about, you know, we're gonna renovating the highway building. No, obviously the ship's gonna sail now about building a new highway department building. We're gonna spend $1 million on mold remediation.
Could you just what would it cost to tear off the office entirely and build a new office with concrete tilt up? So you don't have the leaching through the black of the moisture.
More than what it's gonna be right now,
Sure.
because you got the demolition cost, which is probably gonna be $250,000.
Okay,
And then the tilt up construction and everything right now is probably, you're probably gonna be another $1.5 million.
Okay.
So, you know, we're probably looking at a $2 million job to tear off the existing office area and put up something new.
Tom, is that your recommendation or make a motion to move this to the,
Well, if they wanna get it going, it's gonna take March 6th is our next meeting, and then, you know, we'll have to come back, it'll take a while to get going through the airport commission.
Is there a way we can just put that clause on the resolution? That
I
it's
suppose you could put, or possible
reimbursement
reimbursement.
from the spirit.
yeah,
Right.
um. Okay.
That's
Oh,
just my
oh,
feeling.
but
yeah,
You're
yeah,
also on the commission,
Yes.
so what's your thought?
well, I
Yeah,
would,
'cause you are on the-
I would vote for that, 100% vote for that, for the exact reason of, you know, we're. Everybody uses the highway, we're gonna have to do it one way or another, and if we continue to spend money on other stuff, we're not gonna have. Money for these projects that we do need, right, for our county, for our employees, for the taxpayers, absolutely. When's that price good for? Tell her. You don't know?
Probably the end of March.
Whoa, so that doesn't give us a lot of time.
Probably, I mean, you know that for
I-
sure?
I gotta take a look. I don't have the bid documents right in front of me.
We've got one more,
Could be the middle of April.
so.
are we confident that this is gonna take care of this problem and it's not gonna return, given the design we have out there?
You're not gonna.
Yeah.
Some more?
And, you know, Andy had mentioned about building a new highway building. We've looked at options on how we can make the existing building work for what they need with the additional equipment. It would just be another addition onto it.
Sure,
You know, it's not like this would be. We're gonna build this and then 10 years from now, we're gonna tear it all down and build a whole brand new
Yes.
highway shop.
Yeah.
No, that's not what it is.
Okay.
We've looked at how we could move this operation out there. And just on the footprint with what we've got with the wetlands and where we've got the fueling island and everything. We probably wouldn't be able to add on what we need for us. You know, we might be across the parking lot from the fueling island. But we've looked at how we can kind of combine us with highways and it's gonna be difficult with the traffic patterns that we've got right now.
Okay. Well, that's the intention of the body here.
Can you vote for it contingent on placement of a statement in the resolution for use of ARPA funds?
I'm looking where we had tabbed that.
Let me see.
Spirit funds.
So it being the last one, therefore be it resolved, a transfer from unassigned general fund balance in the amount stated. Or will be later reimbursed by a subsequent bond, or later reimbursed by, a transfer from the Spirit Fund. Is what I
Yeah, we
would-
put in there shall be paid for by the interest from the ARPA commission.
I don't know if that would tie my hands that it's not approved for me to go ahead
Right,
until it's all done by the ARPA commission.
Right, I'm afraid it would because it has to go through the commission, that has to go through the board.
So that's 2 months right there.
so you're gonna tie up, it won't be done.
Well, we don't know for sure on that date. We could have time on that date if that price, this $205,000 is. I mean, that's kind of a important piece of information, Mike, to see, I mean,
I'm looking right now.
to see when that date is good for, instead of.
Okay, so Shelley did not put the bid date on there. Just take a look here. So it went out for bid on the 15th of December.
Right.
No, I know where I can look. But January 31st is when they submitted their bids. So February 29th would be 1 month.
I mean,
So we're probably looking at like the end of April.
I mean, is that written in there from them? Like this date will be good for 60 days past the due date, or is that a common knowledge? Is
No,
that-
that's in the specs.
Was that 6 months?
That's, they have 6 months to do it.
Is there any reason that if immediate housing isn't being used, that you can't use them instead of trailers?
They're really not set up. There's not a whole heck of a lot of room in there for anybody. Other than somebody to be able to make meals, have a sofa to sit in and a bed to sleep on.
Not really an
Well, so if you
office.
put a desk in there, that couldn't work in there or whatever,
We've got to have room for 10 people.
well, you got 3 of them there. So I'm just trying to think, they're sitting there, you could cut some costs maybe and.
What are we talking about here?
Sitting there open, the highway department folks have got moved to trailers that we have to rent. To temporary trailers to
Oh.
workspace to rent. And if those are gonna be sitting empty, is there a way that we could utilize
And
them?
then we got to get services to them for the network and everything.
So curiosity, why can't you use the upstairs conference room? Nothing up there.
Mike,
Because that wasn't, talking with the highway department, that was not going to work.
Let's say anywhere and that, just how much the trailers will cost us over and above
I'm working on that. That's about $80,000.
80,000.
Yeah.
They don't have personal hotspots or Wi-Fi, that's gonna be a problem?
No, we're gonna do cellular connection with it.
Okay,
'90 days is 90
Okay.
days from
okay,
January 31st.
Yep.
Well, that's to the end of April, the 29th
Yeah.
of, 29th of,
Yeah.
April.
mhm.
It'd be nice if we could get this in March, so like everyone sitting here could vote on it at least, because they know what's going on.
So
I mean, probably everybody will be, but you never know.
could we be asking, so we approved this at facilities level here today? We can always make that amendment at the county board level,
That's right,
right?
I agree.
Okay,
That was.
so, okay.
Okay. Who wants to make the motion?
I don't care if you want to.
I make the motion to approval of the funding of the capital improvement project for the amount of $205,000 on highway office reconfiguration mode.
Subject to the inclusion of the
Well, yeah, subject to.
statement that it will be refunded by the Spirit Fund, right?
Right,
So,
Well-
so that was gonna.
that's gonna be
We
added
could do that
in,
on the
that's
floor
gonna
of the
be
county
added in.
board level.
Oh, okay,
That way it'll get on.
Yep.
all right, gotcha.
agenda.
Okay, and then we got a second by Tom?
I'll second it, yes, sir.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Moving on to discussion and possible action on veterans housing in Winnebago County.
Oh, I actually have some information on that today. So I did a little bit of homework here. So I have been with John and, Jeff. And, this is what we've come up with so far. Before I start on this, I guess I'll explain that John had to know by March 1st if we had a appointment with somebody that was gonna be interested in doing what I'm about to explain. We ended up with 2 appointments, so that's a pretty good deal. And, because there's a $1.5 million that is set aside for this project. Okay, so the priority questions are, who will manage and run the
Can I ask a
package?
question? I
Yep.
don't mean to interrupt.
Okay, fine.
Who's got the million and a
Yeah,
half set
that's what I
aside?
was thinking about that.
Tony Exact.
From
So like I
where?
said, I don't know where he got the money.
Okay, just ask.
I don't know where the money's from,
I just,
you know, because,
right,
and Jeff didn't, well, I don't know if Jeff knows either.
okay,
Because all my information
Okay.
came basically from, most of my information came from Jeff.
okay. Thank you. I just-
But all I know is I was sitting in the office at the time going over this. When the message came in that we had, and this is like, about a week or so before the end of the month, and we had to have at least one appointment to sort of reserve that money for us.
Mhm.
So somewhere around the line that somebody is saying, we got $1.5 million. Who's interested in managing a veterans housing or building a veterans housing?
Right, you've gotta have somebody that's willing to do that, and you have to have an appointment with them by March 1st. And it didn't give them a lot of time, but we ended up with 2 appointments,
Good.
Mhm.
so that's pretty cool. So, anyways, this is what we come up with so far. Who will manage and run the factory? The staff of our office will not be able to run the day-to-day operations. Now, here's another question, is whether it's gonna be transitional living factory or a permanent supportive housing factory. We need to find out, find a nonprofit and convince WI of the Veterans Affairs to run a program faculty. Okay, number two, what type of faculty? What do you want? Just a transitional housing or a combination of transitional and permanent supportive? Number three, where is the best location in Oshkosh or Neenah or Menasha area? Number four, how big of a faculty? Number five, who will have the 1 million, or how much of the 1 million will be able to accomplish on buying a pre-existing and new construction of a building? So therefore, all of a sudden it come up to 1.5 million instead of 1 million. So, you know, I guess we're gonna have to ask call the exec on that one. So then the CBSO, the county executive of the director of finance and the director of faculties met with the management team in the Veterans Village in Appleton, and tour the faculties. Their buildings with a walk-in distance of the Appleton VA clinic, which is very true. It is within a walking distance, not very far from there. Discussions during the following meeting and tour resulted in understanding the association was not looking to expand another location. They have purchased additional land and have plans to expand that current location towards the elderly veteran population. Now the WVA, which is the Wisconsin Department of Veteran Affairs, the CVSO county exec has met with them, and they're another one that we're back on the ball with them again. So in other words, I think they're one of them, but they might not be. I'm not sure. We're not sure. I'm not sure on which one it was because Jeff was in meetings yesterday, so I'm down there trying to get this information before I come to this meeting today. Discussions of the meeting resulted in the understanding that the WVA are not willing to open an additional faculty, which be willing to locate the Green Bay faculty to Winnebago County if the faculty would be much bigger than the one that they have in Green Bay. So they are the Wisconsin Department of Veteran Affairs is very interested in doing something like that. And the biggest one is that the CVSO met with the president and secretary of the Veterans First of new discussion possibility of tiny home village for the for the veterans in Winnebago County. There are now plans, village to build near Green Bay, VA. They recently granted 3 acres of land by Brown County. The funds donated to begin the building, the first phase of 7 houses. So that's another one, but this last one is actually a best possibility, and I think they're one of them. As far as I know, I think this is one of the ones that want to do it here in Winnebago County. And that's the CVI, which is a Central for Veterans Issues. The Center for Veterans Issues provides housing and supportive services to veterans and their families. They have multiple office locations throughout the state. They also both transitional and supportive permanent housing for veterans. The bulk of traditional housing in Milwaukee area as the supportive permanent apartments also. The closest apartment complex is in Green Bay near, once again, the VA clinic. So at this time, I had a conversation with the CVI and have attended meetings. And I'm hopefully that we'll be able to set up a future meeting, which has been set up. And the county executive team to discuss the CVI transitional housing or supportive permanent housing for Winnebago County. So that's what I got.
Okay, thank you.
And it's kind of, actually pretty exciting because I was just happened to be there at the right time. And then when he came in and about the thing, and then we got, because these guys are busy. I mean, you know, there's I mean, it's very tough to get even an appointment with them, let alone get them on the phone or whatever, to set up an appointment. And we managed to get 2 of them. So I'm pretty excited about that, and, you know, I will keep an update on you, on the, what's happening, and, because you know, as well as I do, Jeff is a Lions fan, so, you know.
Well, all that's not our problem.
So that ended up in it, so don't put that in, thank you. So, but anyways, this is pretty exciting to me because it's long overdue. And, you know, it's something that's, we've been spinning our wheels for a very long time. And, it's pretty nice that we've gotten as far as we did. And I've been staying on top of it, and just like keeping the buzz going in there. And I think with me going in there with the county exec, and also Jeff got that ball rolling again. And so it's been doggone exciting.
Thank you.
Can you make those notes available for us to read either on?
You wanna read these?
No, can we get a copy of it?
Yeah, you
somehow,
can get a copy.
online or,
Oh, no, these are just one,
Is
can you make some copies of it?
that CVI, are they gonna put any money in towards this?
They're the ones that are interested right now. So we have a meeting set up with CVI now.
Okay.
And they're very interested in now, whether it's gonna. But once again, you know, you gotta, whether we're gonna build new,
Mhm.
which would be probably the best thing to do. But there again, you gotta find some place to do this at.
Right.
And what I would say, I think apartments would be better than tiny homes because you can service more veterans.
Hmm.
I don't know what you think on that, but, or what's your thought on that? Because, and then whether you're gonna go permanent or transitional. Where transitional is usually up to 2 years,
Mhm.
you know, or whatever. A year to 2 years, and then they move on, you know, cause then you find housing.
I think you listen to the experts and see what the needs are for this county and
Right,
go with that.
exactly, and,
Thank you, Mike.
I think you're right there, because we have a lot of veterans in this county,
Yeah,
Thank you, Mike.
and it's unbelievable, and, you know, what is it? So the Fox Valley Council, they're involved in too many things. They're already involved with the one up at, matter of fact, they're thinking of combining it, but, they're already involved with the one in Appleton there, you know, with the veteran housing there, so. Cause we even went in that direction too, you know, with the Fox Valley Council, but Veterans Council, Fox Valley Veterans Council. So, but that's what we're up against.
thank you. Anybody else have anything on the action on veterans housing? Thank you for your work. Moving on to the discussion and action on the naming of the Highway Department Conference Room after Paul DeLapp and John Schneider. We've kind of got an update on that. But our policy states that a committee of jurisdiction was just highway. We'll have to pass that, and then we'll move on to that.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that if the highway department does this, that we follow right in suit and name the two rooms, the Paul DeLapp room and the John Schneider room. So this can also get on the agenda. Keep on getting promised by the highway. So I would think if they take suit at their next meeting,
Mhm.
and if we're got on suit, maybe
Yep.
we can get it around the agenda right away. So I will make that motion that we follow suit. If they do it, we go ahead and follow right in.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Moving on to discussion of responsible bidders, contractors, and county role. Mike, you got anything?
I'm working on a lot of things.
Yeah, I know. you are.
Last time I told you we got the state, certification stuff.
Yep.
I'm trying to get it modified to, include some other things. One of them is the experience modification ratio. And then I would like to bring it up with you guys. The federal government uses that for qualification of their, contractors. And what it is if you have an EMR of 1, your average. If it's higher than that, you're having more incidences of safety. And they have on there that if you have an EMR of 1.25 or more, you're automatically disqualified from the job. That, you know, I would like to put that into our pre-certification document to follow like the GSA, or I think it's GSA's rules, that you gotta have less than a 1.25 EMR to be considered for these bids. I'm working with the other, if you want to call them, the Department of Public Works departments to start doing grading sheets. We've got a contractor that has done a couple projects for us that we need to have the documentation that they're not doing well for us. I haven't quite figured out how the mechanism is. I think last time I told you, we talked to the former DPW director in Appleton. And if a contractor did a poor job, they reduced what size projects they could work on. I haven't quite cracked that nut on how to get that into a policy for you all to work on. But we have 2 contractors right now that have done less than stellar jobs on their projects. That I would like to say, you know, you can't bid on a project that's more than $50,000. And then if you do a good job on that, maybe we'll entertain you going up. You know, you have to do good on the smaller projects a number of times before we let you bid on bigger projects. And that may get their behavior to change, or they just will never get to do bigger projects for us.
This is, yeah, why you have to have documentation. I know Mike has mentioned before, the county getting sued on stuff like that. And you as a, department head are the person that can
Yeah.
document that and say,
Yeah.
and not just a bad job, a good job, and let other municipalities know that this is a good contractor, they did a great job, and so both ways, and so that becomes a record. And then, you know, other municipalities are not in the same boat, but I'm gonna work on this, Mike, and
Yeah.
maybe incorporating that EMR in there, but to say that the bottom line on a lot of this stuff is
Documentation.
documentation, yes, on that, but you know, I think the EMR, I think that's a good portion of this, but also training. There's a lot of contractors and that they don't train anybody
Yeah.
at all. And so you get what you pay for. And so there's what some might say, well, you want to limit people bidding. Other people are going, I don't even touch publicly funded projects anymore because of the low bid, and I won't even bid those. And so,
Right.
I can tell you from an outside perspective that we're starting to get that in Winnebago County a lot. We're getting some different contractors that are bidding work that other contractors that will historically bid work, they're not touching it anymore. They're done. Because they can't compete with the contractors that, when you talk about low bid, you talk about responsible contractors that have health insurance, a retirement plan, safety training,
Mhm.
and bidding against a contractor that doesn't offer any of those things. So right off the top, you take a lot of times 20 or 30 bucks right off the top. And so yeah, we're getting some, we're gonna get some bad eggs unless we, get our stuff straightened out here.
I just got a newsletter from the Department of Labor, or it was about a Department of Labor, dealing with the independent contractor, issues. And I have not had a chance to read that, but, yes, going right on what Andy's saying is, we need to make sure that when we're hiring the employees, that,
They're actual
Yeah.
employees.
yeah, they're actually their employees
And so that's
and not 1099 employees.
a big part. And so I might go out there to that site today and
Yeah.
ask, because what happens is nobody says, I got this contractor hired and here are my employees. And they're all they're all employees. Yeah. Nobody asked the workers if they actually work for the companies. And so last year, the state of Wisconsin missed $93 million in contractors illegally misclassifying their workers as independent contractors. 50.5 million on workman's comp, 50 million on unemployment. You get what I'm saying is so that it's becoming a more
Yeah.
prevalent practice in the construction industry. And I think we have an obligation to make sure that we're utilizing our taxpayers wisely and
I agree.
building a sustainable community. And that means that utilizing folks that treat their workers with dignity and respect. So,
I don't know what Andy's position is on this, but I'm a little frustrated in that we did get rid of the prevailing wage law. And that kind of made sure that people were making market value wages for. And not that we have contractors who go and find people who are semi-skilled, pay them minimum wage and get them on our job. And they use our job as an apprentice program to try and get these people to do things. So I'm frustrated it's taking so long. I wish I could just nail something down real easy.
yeah,
But it's
government. We're working
It's-
through it.
well, that and workload here.
Yeah.
But, it's trying to make sure that we don't have somebody stalling a project by making an appeal to the county board that we didn't do something right,
Mhm.
or filing a lawsuit against us to have an injunction.
Mhm.
And I did have a firm make an appeal to the county board and hold up one of my projects. That was shortly after I got here.
Yeah.
And it's just very frustrating, when you think you do things right, and then somebody just is offended by the way you made a decision on awarding a bid, and then they come to the county board and they plead their case. And then the county board can take whatever action they want, but it still holds up our project.
Anybody else? Thank you, Mike. Moving on to the discussion of the building assessment study.
Okay, just a refresher, we got the FCA all done, and that's what I use to base the capital plan on. And that's kind of tempered with, what I know about how the buildings are operating. So we have a few buildings that were high on the list that I said, I told the county executive, we should not be doing some capital improvements on them until we make a decision on whether we keep the buildings or not.
Mhm.
And that has led to a discussion now where we're going to do I'm gonna bring forward something to the Spirit Fund Committee to do a space needs analysis for the county and to do a master plan for our facilities. And what that would do is, we've got, take for instance, Nina Human Services. That building has never really worked for us since I came here. You know, the parking is atrocious. You know, we don't have parking for our staff. We don't have parking for the clients that come there.
Mhm.
The way the county has done their business in that building and in virtually in all our buildings is different than what it was 25 years ago when I came here. We've had some security incidents in some of our other buildings where, because they're a public building, the front door is wide open. Somebody has a grievance with somebody or some process that's going on in the building, and they're in the building causing trouble. So, you know, we're having questions about how we can secure down the buildings. And, you know, it comes down to if you have a panic switch and you hit the panic switch and it just locks the front doors. Well, you know, that means that people that are coming in to help you can't come in either. Because the fastest way for us to do it is with a mag lock. And those mag locks have like 500-pound force closing capacity. There's no way anybody's gonna be able to get that open. You know, so there's a lot of things we need to take a look at to try and make us work more efficiently and effectively with the public. And I really think we need to take a look at our buildings. We've got hybrid work situations in some of the departments. Some of the departments, like public health, has grown significantly when we absorbed the other public health departments in the county. Human services is growing. They're having all sorts of new programs going on. Child support, you know, the courts are pretty well taken care of right now, but we haven't really looked at what the other departments really need. And the last time we did any kind of space needs analysis was back in 2001. And that was really trying to look at how we were going to accommodate a new jail in the sheriff's department and what we could do. We came up with a plan and it never went anywhere. So 20 plus years is a lot to go on. If you look at our department, our department's been relatively stable, but the way we do things has changed. And, you know, we got put into this building. It works, but it's not really as good as what we would like it to be. So that's the next step that we've got. You know, I've showed you, you know, like the fire station. I know that's the subject of a lot of discussion right now. But we didn't put anything in the capital plan to do any major capital improvements on it until the decision got made on whether we're gonna replace it or not. And that's, you know, if you go down to the next tier down with the buildings, you know, that brings up Warren King. We've got a lot of stuff that we need to do there. Nina Human Services, we got a lot of stuff that we need to do there. You know, and if you really look at it, most of our significant buildings were all built in the early 2000s. So, you know, they're already coming up on, you know, some of them are close to 30 years old. That we need to start looking at how we're doing it. You know, Coughlin, when we built Coughlin, the Parks Department was not very proactive on what they wanted for space. And it really doesn't work for them. Hasn't worked. You know, I've heard complaints from them the whole time. And it goes, there's people like that in all the different buildings. So that's what I'm trying to come forward to with the Spirit Committee next week is a proposal to do a space needs analysis and come up with a master plan.
Is the same firm? It'll go out for RFP, so whoever does.
It'll go out for RFP. McKinstry does not do space planning. But they are interested in it. I've been talking with them about it. They may end up being on part of a team to do it.
I mean, they just went through the facilities. It
Yeah.
almost makes sense.
Yeah, but they're
They don't do it, they don't do it.
they're not architects.
Sure.
And architects are gonna be the ones to do it.
Right.
And what I'm hoping to come out of this too is like space studies, not space standards. you know, we've got a project where an office is built significantly larger than what we have for the county executive. And it's like, you know, I think my office is 175 square feet. That's more than enough for a department head. You know, no department head should have something that's like 350 square feet. Don't need it. You know, who needs to have private offices? Who shouldn't need to have private offices? Human Services, we're working with Human Services right now to have, they call them hoteling spaces, because they have people that aren't in the office all day, every day. So they don't really need to have their own office. But, you know, that can be 150 square feet of a building that's empty the majority of a week, when 2 or 3 people could rotate through that same 150 square feet. And that's what I think we need to get our arms around and come up with. And then see how we provide services to the public. You know, part of it is, we're concentrated around where the jail in Parkview is, we're concentrated in downtown Oshkosh, and we're concentrated in downtown Neenah. But we've got a lot of constituents that live in Amro, Winnebago, Poygan, you know, all those other places, and it becomes a challenge for them to get, I know it's not as easy for them to get to Otter Street for our administrative functions that they want, as if it would have been if it was just on the corner of Y, Jackson and 21.
Right.
Because, you know, you've got 21 that goes out to Amro and Winnebago County, you've got 116. All these highways that would make it easier for them to get there. So I'm hoping we can come up with, this is how much space we need as a county. This is what we think we need for the foreseeable future, like 10 years. And this is how it would work best if we had maybe these departments next to each other, and where it might be best for us to have our operations going.
This might be a little premature, and the companies that do space studies, they're professionals, they do them all over, I'm assuming, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
There's one big name that comes around all the time, and it's Potter Lawson.
okay,
I believe they are doing a space needs analysis and master plan for Brown County right now.
I just hope they talk to the employees as well as the department heads. As many times that a lot of the employees have a better idea of how things are going.
I believe Potter Larson's practice is that they send out questionnaires to everybody. So we can make that work.
So Mike, you know, back to the firehouse site.
Yeah,
So have you been working with the city on that? On, you know, as far as how much?
cost sharing? Yeah.
I mean, where we at with that?
It was a big pill for them to swallow.
Oh, do you think?
Yeah.
Well, what is the percentage? I think the percentage is like, they use it 60.
Oh, yeah.
no, Actually, it was
It's
even.
minimal use on the airfield and it's maximum use for the city.
Right,
I've been part of one meeting with that, and we pretty much pointed that out to them.
That was not well received, you said?
Huh?
Sorry, that wasn't well received.
Well, I wouldn't say it wasn't well received.
Just
They
blindsided,
acknowledged it, but it's, you know,
it's
blindsided.
still on county property is what they were saying.
it's a big pill for them to swallow.
Yeah.
You know, it's a cost that they, would prefer somebody else pay
Well, yeah.
for. And we're not necessarily willing to absorb all that cost.
Right, because I think I think it's like, I think the, 80-20, you know, let's say 20% towards what we use it for. And
Yeah.
they're using it
Yeah.
80% of the time.
At the most, I'd probably even say it's less than that.
Yeah, well, I'm giving them a
Yeah,
little
you're
bit
being
less.
generous.
I'm being generous, sir.
We got a letter from a constituent,
Mhm.
not in my district, but he sent it to everybody,
Yeah.
I think, and he showed up at the last
Yeah.
meeting, and he said, I think he said it was 99.9% city
Yeah.
and, 0.1% county,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, because we don't have the only time we really have, any big deals is when the EIA is here.
Right.
I don't know how many aircraft fly in and out of there on a daily basis.
A lot,
A lot.
A lot,
Thousands.
lot.
every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you took the tour of the airport
No,
yet?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It's nonstop landings and takeoffs.
Tom, have you
Well,
done
then still,
tour
then we're,
of the airport?
I don't think that we're, I don't think, see where that, we're only doing 1% because, you know, there are things that happen and that we have a need for that.
But we're not required to have, oh, we're
Federal,
talking about.
All right, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Let's move, let's,
You know,
let's,
and that-
let's
We're
move
just
her along,
talking
let's move
about-
her along here,
Talking about
gentlemen.
buildings.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's why I'm asking for the space needs assessment.
Okay.
And then a master plan that'll take a look at how we provide services to the community and how we can increase efficiencies with departments. You know, it may be very efficient for parks, highways and us to be all located in the same general area.
Do you have, this is a crazy question, okay, so take it with a grain of salt maybe, but do you, do you have any idea ballpark what it would cost to build a combined consolidated facility with all, you know, all these
All the different departments,
departments under one roof?
I would hazard not making the guess like that.
No.
But
I
it,
mean, is it 15 million, is it 100?
oh, no,
God,
we're probably
no.
talking. The last time I took a look at a new courthouse was like $60 million.
Okay.
You know, we're probably
talking-
talking $100-200 million
Okay,
for a campus.
well, that's a number,
But it's,
that's a number, you know, it's, I'm not gonna hold you to it, but it's a number.
but you know, but there's other things that you can look at, even if that facility costs that much money. If I don't need a fleet of 24 vehicles to get around the
Yes.
different county to do the work, you know, that's a savings there.
Yes,
You know, and if we right size all of our buildings, you know, then we can right size our staffing to take care of the buildings.
Mhm.
So I don't have any predisposition that I want to tell these people to come up with a master plan. But, you know, if you look at, I keep using like Virginia Beach has a master campus. Milwaukee used to have the county grounds out by the zoo. You know, Dane County, I don't know what they do, but I know they've got city county buildings, a couple of city county buildings in Madison that they operate both out of. But if you look at a lot of different places, yes, they have a campus. And maybe they have satellite offices out for some things to help people. But I would like to see what we can come up with that would maximize efficiencies. And also maximize the effectiveness of how we do our work.
Well,
and
you're
if
on
we
the
have
right.
90 million staring us in the face for repair, you know, repairs,
Yeah,
we've got to start talking about
Well-
this potential possibility.
We're on the right track. We did the
Yeah.
building assessment study. This is the next, and I
Right.
think we're
Yep.
moving in the right direction here. All right, discussion on boathouse project. It's done. It's close.
we are waiting for them to put in the overhead door. That's it. They needed to use their barge. They say they need to use their barge to put it in there. Last week, we got the electrical connections all put back in. So most of the ice is out, so I don't know where they keep their barge over there in Winnebago, but they should be able to get here relatively soon to put that overhead door in.
Probably can't get through Beautiful, you have to get it.
Beaumont looked pretty wide
Is it
open.
open? Okay,
Yeah, the lake looks pretty wide open. I don't know about by the bridge and everything.
could be chunks of ice in there yet, maybe.
Yeah,
So, can we ask a question? Tom,
On the
or you
boathouse?
just go?
sure.
On the boathouse.
Boathouse.
Paul couldn't answer the question last week regarding the siding. I went down and looked at it. It seemed very unique to me. It's something new I'd never seen before. the wall panels that were used, they're smooth and, you know,
I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary.
well, normally wouldn't you expect like corrugated steel, you know?
They've got all different kinds.
And this choice for this one was, he mentioned that, it's good in terms of, you know, insects keep lake flies,
Yeah.
collecting on it and stuff. Any other, I mean, do you see the maintenance issue of, this wall covering being an issue at all, or,
No,
well, do you like it? I mean, what was the choice? How was the
Cost.
choice made? Cost.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it steel?
yeah,
Okay.
it's, well, it's metallic.
Okay.
I don't think it's aluminum.
Okay.
But
Okay,
I think it's steel.
It'll spray off easy with the lake flies down there.
it would, yeah. The roof itself, I haven't seen the roof yet. What's that
Standing seam metal.
standing seam?
Yeah. So it's a metal roof. It comes up and the seat, it looks like ribs on. the
Yeah,
roof.
okay.
And the overhead door is just a coiled metal door.
Good, Tom?
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else on the boathouse? Moving on to director report on department operations.
We're really busy.
You need another job, don't you, Mike? I heard
I think I have one.
you do, that's what I'm saying, don't you? have
Actually,
another job?
actually, we've got 3 jobs now, because, UWO has no staff to do facility stuff, so we've kind of, we're working with Paul Farrell up in Outagamie County, so it's like the 2 facilities departments from the counties are basically doing facilities work for Fox Valley now. So we're doing that. But, you know, I don't know if you have any questions real quick. You know, the 980 houses should be done here relatively quickly. We haven't even, well, we have started some of the projects that were approved for the capital plan for 2014. We've got the design work going out for the boilers in Neenah and Coughlin. We have a reduction in scope going out for the Neenah roof. The chiller was put up on the roof, I think last week. The generator for the expo center has been ordered, and it's like a 14 to 18 month delivery time. So you won't see any work going on that for a while. Yeah, and I know that's long. In my other hat, we lost a generator out at solid waste, and we're looking at having to replace a generator there, and yeah, it's long lead time. For that. We have been trying to get the work done on the Harrison Street building, the repairs that were approved. And it's gone out for bid twice now. The first time we got no bidders. We split up the work from the inside, from the outside. We got one bidder for the outside, and the price is just very high. We've looked at it, and it's the architect and us. We can't justify it. So we're regrouping and figuring out how we're going to have to get that done. The big problems that we've got is the outside siding and the roof needs to be done. The rest we can probably piecemeal, but the way they did the venting between the upstairs second story and the lower level, the venting is a problem where we're getting, there's some moisture pathways that we wanted to get taken care of. So we basically have to do the siding and that venting, because the way they did it, forced our hand. So I don't know what we're going to do. We are lucky in that we hired a carpenter. So we will talk to our carpenter to see if, you know, if he feels that he can get this done, or if we still have to try and contract it out. But,
All the siding needs to be replaced?
pretty much,
Is it vinyl or what?
no, it's steel.
Oh,
it's gotten beaten up pretty good in certain areas. Um,
The roof is shot, it's,
yeah. Yeah. And once we take the shingles off, we may end up having to replace the sheathing up there. Because if you just take a look at it, it's a little wavy.
what kind of roof is that, a mansard
Shingle.
style or what?
There's different
There is
styles on it.
like that, sort of,
There's over, it's,
I mean, there's
on the
smaller.
first floor, it's your normal roof.
Yeah,
And then on the second floor, it's kind of like a shingled mansard,
yeah,
and then it opens up to a rubber membrane that's on the top.
oh,
So, the rubber membrane has got some issues with it.
yeah, in the back,
No, it's on the top.
way up on top,
Yeah,
is it flat?
yeah.
Oh.
Well, it's
It
low
makes sense,
pitch.
yeah,
So, yeah, we gotta do the roof, and we've gotta do at least half the siding so that we can get the roof venting done right. And we're looking at options right now on how we can do it with the money that was approved. And the second time we went out for bid, we only had one bidder, and, it's more than I think we should have to pay for it. So, we're trying to figure out how we can get more people to bid it.
that's some, get some college kids to do.
Yeah, the morgue building, we're looking at doing the groundbreaking, breaking ground the first week of April, depending on the weather. Myron is the contractor and they're all set to go. They're ordering materials so that we should be ready to go. We've had some regulatory problems. The DNR took a look at it and said we had to do a wetlands delineation. Even though we had documentation from Land and Water that the wetlands are west of highways. But they've now said that a culvert that we have to cross is considered wetlands. So we're taking action to take care of that. The city did not like the size of the storage yard that the sheriff has. So we're going to have to modify the zoning for the property. I'll be going before city council hopefully in March. And that will be, it's still gonna be zoned institutional, but it's got what's called the planned development over it that will allow us to put a bigger storage area over there.
Needs an overlay.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be coming for more money?
No, we should not be coming for any more money. I did that once.
I know.
Yeah, no, we should not have to do anything. Because the wetlands that we found are man-made,
Right.
so that shouldn't be a big issue for us to take care of. We talked about the highway shop. Let me go through here real quick. We talked about the chiller, the expo generator, the fire alarm panel for Parkview is significantly reduced in scope. We found Peeper Power can help us with that, rather than the original people saying we had to replace everything. So we're working with them.
That expo generator that we talked a long time
Yeah,
ago
yeah.
and approved the money, you won't get until 2025.
At least,
That's what it's looking like.
Well, why should we be bidding on these things? Cause you're just gonna end up coming back for money when it comes about it.
Well, no, because this one's fixed price. So,
Well, maybe that one, but it just seems like, well, it's time to get to the thing that's always so far down the road. I'm not blaming you, Mike, but it just seems like things just don't get done and there we sit and then come back for money and board either gives more money or don't get done. It's very
Right.
simple.
right, and it's, part of it is our process of how to do it, and I'm working with Paul Kaiser to see if there's a way we can streamline it more. But it's time consuming, especially like if I have to go before you guys and then I gotta go before PNF and then once or twice before the county board, that can add on, 3 to 4 months, 3 to 6 months
Yeah,
before I even get the project approved. And then we can go out and start doing the design work and go out for bids. It's the fail-safe methods that people before us have put into place to keep it from wasting taxpayers' money, which, if you ask me, starts becoming a waste of taxpayers' money because of how long it takes to get it done.
exactly.
You know, if we were in the private sector, we could move a whole lot faster than we can right now. But like I said, Paul Kaiser and I are gonna work on it and see if there's a way that we can expedite it and make it work faster for us.
You should be able to go to something, you know, you go to, I don't know how many conferences you go to anymore, but there's gotta be some best practices for contracting in county government or city government, and you should, you know, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but some other
Yeah.
county or city has it figured out a much more streamlined way than we do, and steal
The
their
people I've
idea.
talked to, not really. You know,
No.
I came across a document that it's called job order contracting, where we would go out and get, cost estimates for, it's kind of what we did when I was at the shipyard. We would bid a contract for 5 years, and they would give us a nominal work package. And you would tell them what it would cost, like to repair a pump. And then when the real work came down, they would award it to you because you had the 5-year contract, and then you would you would settle on a price. And that's what job order contracting is. You know, I could talk to, let's say, Bolt, and they give me what their cost rates are for the next 5 years. And then as jobs came up, we could go right to them and have it done. But that circumvents the whole state statute that says we have to go out for bid. I don't know if going out for bid for their umbrella costs qualifies that for getting the bid cost for each job. So it's, yeah, there's other ways out there to do it.
That's tough with the different, I mean, you're building a ship and that's a different story than
Yeah.
you got many different facets and things that you can't see that come up.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
You know,
Tough.
so there are faster ways of doing it. I just don't know how we can
Mhm.
qualify it underneath the state statutes that we have to. The USDA, we are still working on the lease. They came through with 3 change orders that they want. I passed off last week the last cost for their change. Hopefully they will sign off on it, and we'll be able to go and get it done.
I wonder what would happen if you'd say, well, you have to get out because we've got this rented to somebody else now, see if that would speed anything up.
Oh, I don't know. I'm ready to say that. I'm ready to say that's our county board.
Well, you said parks didn't have enough space, so.
Yeah, it'd be a great place for parks. But, yeah. And what was really frustrating was everything was all signed, sealed and delivered, and then they talked to the people that lived in the space. And the people that lived in the space came up with these changes that they want. So, those are the big ones, that we got going right now. Other than that, yeah, I said we've made an offer to a carpenter. And then we'll have him, but we've had a couple people leave on some of the other positions. So we were fully staffed for like about a day. Today is actually the last day for our groundskeeper. So, she's retiring with 20-some years, probably about 23 years, I think it is now. And we've got that advertised right now, to see about getting somebody in here to take care of that.
Who replaced Laura Forbes she retired, right? The purchasing agent?
Kelly tried it.
Was she in that department?
Human resources.
And then IT for that.
Yeah, she was the accountant in IT just before she went to finance. And I don't know where she was before. She was in finance,
Yeah.
because I know Shelley and Penny Schreiber both worked in finance at the same time. But they moved around, but Shelley's pretty good to work with. And budget wise, we came out looking okay for last year, and we're on track where we should be at this time this year.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. All right, suggestions for items for the next meeting agenda. 5, 6. We want to put we would approve the county appraisal policy, so we don't really need to have that on there anymore, right?
I think not, right.
Okay. 8, 9, do we want to do assessment study / space study? Will we be ready or to at least discuss that?
Well, we'll be able to discuss it if it
Okay.
was, approved at, the Spirit Committee, then I can think up the day they'll be going to the county board.
Okay. 10. Keep 11, because that's not done yet. Anybody else? All right, next meeting, March 27th, 2024.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are.
You know, on the 980 houses, when Tom Swan and I went out there, that guy said that actually very difficult to move the uptake into three sections. You know, like thinking that they're gonna be easy to move, they're not gonna be.
Not easy to move.
So,
No, but they're easier to move than if they weren't able to be segmented.
but yeah, he said it wouldn't be an easy job to move them.
Well,
But he was real friendly.
I think when you mentioned, you know, you have to be 1,500 feet away from everything, that's sort of constrained a little. Where, you know, I thought, well, if you put them 6 feet apart, you can't. I mean,
No,
Yeah.
So if you can't do that,
And you're gonna be at the IDB.
put windows in the middle unit, you can't really
Yeah.
get natural light
I've got to meet with
yeah,
because
county
it's
executive at noon.
bunched up against the next unit.
Oh, really?
It's just that all these people are
That's
human beings, I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
geez, you know, they only.
Yeah, you were right, that guy called, everybody asked him.
Well, what's the
City, he
rules
called
they've got?
He told me the
Yeah,
first
right.
thing. he
Good
did.
I wouldn't know.
So that's your street.
Oh, you know,
I'd give you the
my favorite
fence,
saying, and that-
you know,